In our class, we find equivalent fractions, meaning equal fractions, in three ways. The first way we do it is we use manipulatives. For example, it says find an equivalent fraction to 1/2. We use fraction strips, and we've also used pattern blocks. So I pulled a 1/2 fraction strip here, and then I'm also going to pull a trapezoid because we use our red trapezoid as a 1/2. Finding an equivalent fraction to 1/2 is as simple as using these tools and finding a perfect match. So let's say I have 6. I could pull down 1, 2, 3/6. 3/6 is an equivalent fraction to 1/2. I can also prove that by pulling pattern blocks, and I have green triangles that are 6, and pulling and saying 1, 2, 3. 3/6 is equivalent to 1/2. You can also say, by using pattern blocks or fraction strips, that 2/4 is equal to 1/2. If I pull fourths out and I line them up, I can see that 2/4 is equal to 3/6 is equal to 1/2. I can prove that by pulling my tools out and saying, here's another 2/4. Oops, that's the decimal side. Either tool will show me how I can find equivalent fractions, and we use those often in class. Moving those to the side, students aren't always going to have those available to them. For example, they don't take them home with them. So I've taught them how to draw a picture to find equivalent fractions using basically drawn fraction bars. They're to draw a fraction strip, split it in half, that way they've got one fraction strip on top of another. We start with the 1/2 fraction and I shade it in. Then we use a strategy called dropping the curtain. To find equivalent fractions, and especially in this case they weren't told find an equivalent fraction that is a fourth. They can find any equivalent fraction. So they just need to drop their line, drop the curtain, and then they have two pieces that they can split any way they like. For example, I can take it and split it on each side into 4 pieces. As long as I shade in a match, I have just found using a picture that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that 4/8 is equivalent to 1/2. And there's an endless amount of ways you can do that and draw your picture. Mathematically, 1/2, you multiply. Anything over itself equals 1 is a fraction. So for example, times 4/4. 4/4 equals 1. Anything times 1 is itself. So 1/2 times 1 would be 1/2. However, we're finding an equivalent fraction that is an exact match. It just looks different. So 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. An equivalent fraction to 1/2 is 4/8. And we found that mathematically, and we also found that using a picture. Doing another example, let's say we have 1/3. Finding any equivalent fraction, we can choose anything. If I wanted to, I could choose times 12/12 and say that 12/36 is equal to 1/3. As long as your numerator and your denominator match and equal 1, you can choose any number to multiply by and find an equivalent fraction mathematically.